Hello everyone and welcome back. Before we get into anything at all, I just want to give a forewarning. This video is going to be full of spoilers looking at new ships, both video and text, going over their stats and taking some looks at them. So if you do not want to see any spoilers and want to wait for the ships to come out to look at them for yourself, this is your warning. Now with that said, we have a ton of information to go over, both text as well as some videos of walkarounds of some of the new ships. And we have, probably biggest of all, we have some very interesting information that could be giving us some very clear indications that it actually might be a reality, that at least the Idris P and possibly the Idris K kit as well will be releasing at Invictus. So let's go ahead, let's get into it, and let's talk about why that may be the case. All right, so let's start off with the biggest thing in the room, which is going to be the rumors of the Idris, potentially the Idris P, launching along with Invictus. So we have a couple of different things to go off of that I'd like to talk about for a moment. So first, earlier in the ISC earlier today, they did, Jared mentioned at the end that over the next 2 weeks, we'll be seeing some more videos going over the last 4 vehicles that are coming as part of Invictus. Now, I know that some people assumed, oh, well, we're getting the Starlancer attack, the Greycat MTC, the Anvil Asgard, and the Guardian MX, so that's 4, right? Well, they already did a Behind the Ships episode last week talking all about the Starlancer attack, so I don't think it really makes a lot of sense for them to do another video that includes talking about that. So that means that there is some other vehicle that is going to be coming for Invictus. There was also a tweet that I saw that Jared had replied to on someone that he said that in that video today, they showed all of the ships that are coming at Invictus. So it's not some other thing that we didn't see there. It was shown in that video. And the Idris was shown in that video. So that definitely leaves it open to the possibility that the Idris could be that 5th vehicle that we're getting. Now, the next thing is, over the course of a lot of the PTU patches throughout the 4.1.1 PTU cycle, in the ship log changes that I have scoured through on SP Viewer, there have been multiple different builds where there have been changes and adjustments made to not just the Idris itself, its flight characteristics, its health, all that sort of stuff, but there's also been additions of things like the Idris K laser beam weapon, the Herstein Dynamics laser beam weapon that replaces the railgun from the Idris M on the Idris K. That has been added. Then it's had its size adjusted, it's had its volume adjusted, it's had its damage and its heat and all these other things, these other characteristics about it adjusted. And then on top of that, in some of the recent data mines we have gotten, there's a video that I'm going to show in just a moment. It has the sounds of the Idris P laser firing, and it acts like it's there attached to the ship, even though it's not actually on the ship. The gun itself is not there, but you do hear it. It does seem to be attached to this Idris, again, that was data mined. So let me throw that video up real quick and let's listen to it for a moment. Okay, so we'll play this for a minute. Again, we're just, the gun, as we can see, there's no laser beam on the bottom of this Idris. This is the Idris P model, but we will hear the gun firing when he goes into the cockpit view. You can see in the top left MFD, the ammo depleting from this laser beam. Again, the laser weapon on the Idris K is a continuous beam weapon. So let's go ahead and listen to it. It does sound very cool, by the way. Now again, if we look carefully when he goes back to the internal view, so We can see as he's holding down left mouse into the lasers firing, that ammo count depletes. Looks like there's a little cooldown period. Then that ammo recharges, so I guess that'll deplete as you hold down your left trigger, or whatever the button is to fire it. And that continuous beam will go until you let go. Then there's a cooldown. It'll start recharging and so on. So it sounds very, very cool. Again, we don't have the actual model on this yet, but I would not be surprised if we get that. So that's just one more reason that I think we could be getting the Idris. Let's go on to the next reason why I think we could be getting it. All right, now the other thing that has leading me to believe that we could potentially be getting at least the Idris P and the Idris K upgrade kit with Invictus is there was a link discovered by some community people that appears to be a play.sc redirect link that appears to be set up for what is most likely an Idris P store page. As of this moment, it's currently hidden from outside viewing. This was posted again in a data mining Discord. So the link is play.sc/Idris. This is a very common link that they do when the new ships come out. It's a short little link you can click on or be able to put in to go to the specific ship page. And right now it redirects to a comlink transmission that has the Aegis Idris P in the URL there. But again, it's currently hidden. The page itself is hidden from outside viewing, but that gives me a very, very good sense that we could potentially be seeing this, especially because the last line there is a similar page for the rest of this year's ships are confirmed as well. So that, I think all those things combined, all the stat changes, the adjustments to the health of the Idris itself, the weapons being added, weapons being adjusted, all these different little things that we've seen. I have never seen this many little breadcrumbs left before. So I think there is I'd say at the moment, I'm thinking there's about an 80% chance that we get the Idris with Invictus. If you have any other thoughts on this, let me know in the comments, or if you have any other things you've heard that could potentially confirm, or even if you've heard things that you think make you think that they won't be coming, I'd love to hear that as well. But I really, really think at the moment we could potentially see the Idris coming with Invictus, which will definitely shake things up quite a lot in terms of large ship gameplay. So that's going to do it for talking about the Idris. Let's move on to some of the new ships we're going to be seeing with Invictus launch week. All right, so first we're going to talk about the Asgard, the Greycat MTC, and the Mirai Guardian MX a little bit. Well, let's go through, we're going to read through the ship descriptions for them, and then also we have some stats for the ship components and ship weapons and all those sorts of things. So let's read through these descriptions, and then we'll take a look at the stats. So starting with the Anvil Asgard, its focus is a vehicle transport, and the description is, as the battles of today continue to grow in scale and complexity, Anvil Aerospace understands the impact a single vehicle can have on the outcome. Enter the Asgard, the next generation in ground vehicle support. The Anvil Asgard features a quick load ramp, a sizable hold to securely store your assault vehicle of choice, and a hefty array of armaments to ensure access to even the most combat-heavy of drop sites. Next, we have the Greycat MTC. Its focus is personnel transport. As an expert in industrial operations, Greycat understands that job site security is a vital part of any successful business venture. Not only that, but to be fully effective, you need to be able to get your security personnel and their equipment to wherever they're needed most. That's why the MTC Mobile Tactical Center is such an important addition to your next venture. Nimble enough to access the difficult terrain encountered at remote operations, and equipped with enough suit lockers, weapon racks, and storage to tackle a wide host of issues, the Greycat MTC could make all the difference when it comes to turning a potential problem into a potential profit. And finally, we have the Mirai Guardian MX. Its focus is a heavy fighter. Taking the framework of the Guardian fighter and adding even more offensive options, the Mirai Guardian MX packs additional firepower and armor ideal for overwhelming opponents. While not as nimble as the base Guardian, this heavy fighter is still more agile than many other ships in its class. So next, let's go over the loadouts of components that we know of so far for these new ships. So for the Guardian MX, what we know is it has 2 size 2 shields, 24 size 2 missiles, and 4 size 4 pilot weapons. The Greycat MTC, we know that it has at least 1 size 0 shield generator, and it has a remote turret that has 2 size 2 weapons. And then for the Anvil Asgard, it has 4 size 2 shields, so that's the same as the Valkyrie has, 16 size 3 missiles in that top missile turret on top of the ship, 4 size 3 pilot weapons, a remote turret with 2 more size 3 pilot weapons that is slave to the pilot, and an additional manned turret that has dual size 4 weapons. And then towards the middle of the vehicle, there are 2 mountable size 1 side turrets that deploy from the side doors where personnel could drop out or jump out of the vehicle. There's those little Gatling gun side turrets. So now we're going to get into looking at some of the video that we have. Again, this is from Datamined. These guys know how to pull the ships up in some sort of environment. They can look around them. So we're going to look at the Guardian or the Greycat MTC, the Guardian MX, the Asgard, and finally the Starlancer TAC. We aren't going to watch through the entire video, but we will skip around to a couple different points and look at a few notable things. So let's start with the Greycat MTC here. So first, they're going to do a little roundabout of the vehicle. We can see, from what I've seen of the dimensions, it is about the same width as an Ursa, maybe a little bit taller than the Ursa, but it is, in its length, it is a little bit shorter than the Ursa. What's interesting is right here at the back, there's a little deployable, what I think is a storage rack for 8th SCU boxes, I think. It looks like you could potentially, if I rewind it here, you could potentially fit maybe 4 on there. There's these separate little areas. Maybe it's for something else. It doesn't seem like it's a weapon rack, but there may be some capacity for some external little storage boxes to go on the outside rear of the vehicle. Now we'll come over to the left side, which is how you get into the ship or the vehicle. There is a small refueling port right here, and then they'll open up the door. So that entrance is very similar to the Ursa. Now we'll come into the inside here. Pretty cozy, nothing too crazy. We have some component access. There is actually a engineering terminal on this, which is quite interesting. I don't think any other ground vehicles have that. Over there, right here, we have some more component access and some weapon lockers. And then we also have a single large weapon rack, which could hold like a railgun. We have these 2 armor lockers, which right now those won't be the most useful, but I think in the future when we have to carry armor around like that in those lockers and you need to get somewhere that you would need multiple different types of armor for different tasks, this could be pretty useful for something like that. Now we're going to go ahead and take a look in the driver's seat. There is some nice little UI stuff here. Some little light controls. Control some of the interior lighting. Looks pretty good. And here they are driving around. So you can see the pilot can control that turret. And there is a nice little screen right here that shows your speed, and it's got this nice little UI. There's some different, I think he zooms in on it in a minute here. So we can see there's some different indicators for like lights and different things that are more relevant to ground vehicles. So I'm really hoping maybe we see something like that come to other ground vehicles as well. A little bit of nice information. Just, it's more specialized for ground vehicles and what they have. So really cool to see. You can see here, you can deploy the turret and it goes up the little track there, and then you can move it around a little bit. It also seems like there are some blast shields on the sides of the driver's seat here that they'll fold up when you click deploy, I believe. And then you can click retract and they'll come back down. Then we have a little passenger seat, which you do sit down in, and it does, as he'll show in a moment here, you actually can remote into that top turret from this seat. So you can have someone focusing on driving, and someone else can be doing the turret. There's a little deploy button, and it brings down a little display screen here, which then you can use to enter that remote turret. Well, that's going to be a bit of a first look at the Greycat MTC, taking a little bit of a tour of it. We'll, again, be able to do a much more in-depth tour and testing on what vehicles it'll fit in and things like that once the vehicle is released. But there is a little bit of a look at it. Let's move on to the Guardian MX and take a look at that. All right, now we're going to take a look at the Mirai Guardian MX. There's a little bit of a walk around here. Again, it looks fairly similar. There's a few little visual differences on the little winglets, like how the guns are placed. That's a little bit different. There's some integrated missile launchers that we'll see. And this does have those 4 size 4 guns, so 4 Rhino repeaters by default. So the big difference we're going to see in a moment is that there is actually no bed in the Guardian MX. So I think because of the additional components that have been added to this, there's an additional size 2 shield, and I believe it's been changed to a size 2 power plant instead of 2 size 1s, and maybe a couple of other little differences. The component room is basically all of the interior of the ship. So he's going to come up here, and we're going to see the little hallway here is a lot longer. It's just a bunch of different component access. Still have that engineering terminal. But again, more components on all these sides. Looks like we have a size 2 cooler, which I think the regular Guardian has size 1s, I want to say. And then as we go through this little door here, we can see it just goes straight into where your cockpit is going to be. So there is no bed, no habitation area on this version of the Guardian, which is a little bit of, it's going to be a little bit of a trade-off. So you do get some more offensive firepower, but you are giving up that that capability of being able to log out. We can see here the cockpit. It's all blacked out at first because there is a blast shield over this, and there's this really cool startup animation thing. It looks really, really cool. And the new MFDs look really nice as well. We can see those size 4 Rhinos firing. We have a little bit better look at the outside. You can see that cockpit there is all encased in metal. We'll zoom in here, and we'll also see the integrated missile launchers. So it has 24 size 2 missiles. And then over on the left side, there is a retract armor panel that will move up some of the armor, so it'll open up that front part to just be the normal glass, and it removes a little bit of the struts that are on there normally, so when he puts it back down, you can see that closes up really nicely. But overall, it is a very cool design. That little canopy is very reminiscent of the Fury MX with that kind of blast shield that it has. Whether or not that'll really have any effect on anything in the future, don't really know. It could just be, you know, some artistic stuff they added, but it does look really cool. So I think the big knock on it for me is that it doesn't have that habitation area, which I think you're giving that up, again, in return for extra components, extra offensive capabilities. So you'll have to make that choice. That'll limit you and kind of what you can do with it. But yeah, I think it'll still be a really good thing to try out. The other thing is it is supposed to be the least maneuverable out of the 3 different variants now of the Guardian. Whereas the normal Guardian's more maneuverable, the Guardian QI is a little bit less, and then this one is even more so, a little bit less maneuverable. But it does have a little bit more HP, I think about 15 or 20,000 more than the base Guardian. So you do have a little bit of more of extra survivability with the Guardian MX. Alrighty, so now let's take a look at the Anvil Asgard. So we're going to go ahead and start the video here. We can see at the front, again, it is very, very similar to the Valkyrie. We can see there is this dual size 4 man turret. You can see the glass there. And again, this has 6 size 3 pilot weapons. We'll see the configuration of that a little bit later, but we can see 2 right here. There's 2 up here, and then there's a couple more over on the right side of the ship, but we'll see that a little bit later. As we come up to the front port side, there is a small access point for a fuel port. You may also notice if you look down near the landing gear, that I believe is pretty significantly different than the regular Valkyrie's landing gear. That may have had something to do with how they're able to make the vehicle bay taller by moving that or adjusting that. And now he's going to come up, there are panels to be able to open the rear ramp. It is a fair amount larger ramp than the regular Valkyrie, a lot wider. Again, that vehicle bay, as we see here, is a lot longer, a lot wider, and a lot taller. So this is able to fit the large vehicles like the Nova tank, the Ballista, the Centurion, all of those sorts of vehicles. You can fit one of those in here. I'm sure you could also fit multiple of the smaller vehicles as well, but it is going to be very useful for moving those larger vehicles around into areas that would be a little bit harder to get to with, say, the C2 Hercules. And then we do also have the side doors as well, like the regular Valkyrie. We also have the door-mounted Gatling guns, so you still have those to use for personnel disembarking. And then where we come back to where there are drop seats on the normal Valkyrie, we have some component access now. Then we have one jump seat on this side, an engineering terminal. As we go to the other side, there's more component access. And it doesn't show it right here, but right there, okay, there we go. There's another jump seat. So there's two jump seats, potentially for engineers or operators for those door-mounted guns. Here in this little bit of a forward room where you have the man turret access, there's a little bit more component access, some fuses, relays, those sorts of things. And then we have a ladder to get to the upper deck, and there is now a cover for this ladder, which is something that the Valkyrie sorely needs. And as he gets up here, we can see it's fairly similar looking to the Valkyrie. There's a little button you can push to close that hatch. We have a two-person bunk room. This is a two-crew ship. We have one pilot, one person to man that turret, potentially also serve as an engineer. We have a bathroom on the other side opposite of that bedroom area. And then as we move towards the cockpit, there's a small kitchenette little area. Then we have some weapon racks, so you have some normal size ones. Looks like there's one large one that could hold like a railgun. And I think these are supposed to be armor lockers, but they may be missing like a door or something like that. I don't know. Those don't look completely finished to me. And then we get up here to the cockpit. We have our fire extinguisher and the pilot seat. This is pretty darn similar to the Valkyrie's layout. Yeah, we can see in third person that missile turret up top. The top, those big engines on the sort of the rear-ish of the ship. Switching from VTOL mode. The ship does sound pretty nice. Alright, and then right here we can see the pilot-controlled weapons. So you'll notice there's 3 separate dual mounts of size 3, so that's 6 total size 3 weapons for the pilot. There's 1 set below the cockpit, and then 2 that are set above and behind to the left and right. They're kind of covered by some of that armor plating as well. So you have a decent amount of pilot firepower, and then you have that additional size 4 turret, so you could have a buddy hop in that. It will also show in a moment here firing out some missiles. So it appears that the missiles are pilot controlled. I guess they just decided to lay them out in that kind of blocky missile launcher up top. So kind of an interesting design, but it does look pretty cool. You can see those firing out of there. But there is a first look at the Anvil Asgard. I'm really looking forward to trying that out myself. I think it'll definitely be very, very useful, especially if we have some more events that incentivize using ground vehicles. Being able to get a large ground vehicle in with a smaller profile ship than the massive Hercules will be very, very helpful. And for our first walk around of ships today, we have the Starlancer TAC. This is as far as we know, one of the big ships coming. Again, there's potentially the Idris. So let's go ahead. Let's do a run around of the Starlancer TAC. So we start at the back. You can see those are remote missile turrets, one on either side of the back cargo bay / vehicle garage. And we'll move forward. We can see the giant dual size 5 turrets here that are on the port and starboard sides of the ship. And then at the back of the ship again, there's something to note right here. There is a small camera, probably for the co-pilot controlling those remote missile turrets. As we come up into the vehicle bay / garage, cargo bay, this is, as far as I can tell, identical to the Starlancer Maxes, so no real differences here. But as we move forward, the medical room is right in front of that cargo bay. Really, really nice looking. Again, you have 2 Tier 3 medical beds. This is the first med bay we've seen in the MISC styling. We have a little cupboard here storing some medical supplies. So overall, I really like the look of this. Really looking forward to trying the TAC out once this goes live. And then as we move forward into the drop seat area, I have to note that this is a lot cooler than I thought it would be. So you have 4 drop seats on each side. We have these little levers to open the ramp. There's little windows as well, you can see out a little bit. But one notable feature that I did not know the TAC had, and I had not seen anywhere, so this might be new, is it has door guns. So we can see here those deploy. So similar to the Asgard that we looked at a minute ago, you have a door gun. You can have someone be manning that while your troops disembark, get back on, providing cover fire. You'll also be able to have this dual size 5 turret. That should be able to provide you some cover fire as well. But really just a nice little thing, nice little change to see. So really, really nice to see that. And as he brings the ramp back up and it retracts here, we can see right as it comes back, there is some red lighting that comes down. It looks like it says door zone or something like that. So there's some nice little caution lighting, so that we've seen things like that on the Spirit series. When you open the ramp, it gives a little outline of where the ramp will lower to, you know, kind of a caution area. So really, really cool to see something like that on the Starlancer TAC now as well. And as we move forward more, we enter the turret room. Really cool art along the sides of the turret entrances. He's gonna go ahead and hop in one of the turrets here. You have that door that closes and seals off the ship. And then the turret slides out. The weapons extend out. It's a pretty cool animation process for getting in the turret. And then you have those dual size 5 weapons. Now he doesn't look at the firing arcs here, so that's something that we'll have to test. I've heard they're not able to shoot fully forward, but I think you'll have pretty good firing arcs, at least to the sides and below and a little bit above you. So that's something that will be tested more in the future. And then as we move forward a little bit more, this small area with the elevator and the airlock, I believe, is exactly identical to how the Starlancer Max is. And then we have what I believe is supposed to be the armory. It looks like there's just a bunch of suit lockers there. In a moment, we will see there is some weapon storage as well. It's just not on the lower deck, it's on the upper deck. So again, from this elevator forward, it is exactly identical to the Starlancer Max, those escape pods in the bridge. Let's move into the habitation area here. We can see we have a little bit refactored area. There's some nice deep blues. We have a bathroom that does have the quote-unquote working mirror. We have a bench. We do have some weapon racks right here. We have another bathroom, so 2 bathrooms. And then we have the crew quarters where there are, it looks like 8 bunks, and I believe along the back wall here we have some storage lockers as well. Those should give some personal storage. So it looks like there's enough room to sleep 8 people. There are quite a few different positions to have on the Starlancer TAC, so it makes sense you'd have this many spots. Now we'll move to where the habitation area is, or the bunk area, well, the sleeping areas on the Starlancer Max. We can see we still have the side elevators that go down to the cargo bay, but we have a door in the rear here that opens up to the Fury hangar. And it looks like we have 2 sets of stairs that go up, and we are in the small hangar meant for the Mirai Fury. He's going to open it up. It's got a nice little animation. And there you go. So again, they said you can comfortably fit 1 Fury in here. Apparently you should be able to fit 2. I guess you can probably squeeze them in. I really don't think there's going to be many other ships that'll fit in here. The Fury is just so small, and nothing else really is as small as that. So, and then he doesn't entirely go in here, but there is, I know that the engineering section for the TAC must be somewhat different because of its slightly different components. So it has an additional size 3 shield. It has a size 3 power plant instead of 2 size 2s. I think we can kind of see that. It's a little bit hard to see because it's grainy and not super high resolution. But I think there's some bigger component doors here, so that should be where some of those components are. I think it also has 1 size 3 cooler instead of 2 size 2s. So there's a few differences there, so the component layout might be a little bit different, but the overall style and art of the engineering room should be the same. But that is a little bit of a first look at the Starlancer TAC. So really, really cool looking. Looking forward to doing a deeper dive and an in-depth review on that once we have it in the verse. But that is going to do it for today's video, going over a basic rundown of the new ships coming into the game, going over some of their stats, going on a little bit of a tour of them through those videos. Again, you can't see everything super duper well, so once we have it in game, I'm going to do a very in-depth walk around of all these ships. I'm going to be testing them on all the different things they should be able to do, testing what vehicles like the Greycat can fit in, what things can, how many storms could we put in the Asgard, how many cyclones, how many Ursas, all those sorts of things. We are definitely going to test all of that out. So if you enjoyed the video and you want to see more of those sorts of videos testing the new ships coming up in the future, feel free to subscribe to the channel so you'll see those videos coming up. If you enjoyed the video, feel free to leave a like on the channel, as it really helps it out. And until next time, I will see you in the verse.